Hey, my name is True Foley. I studied mass media over at VSU, and I graduated in 2022. When I was graduating high school and I was looking for where to go to college, I toured a couple places, and then I came to this medium-sized school, Valdosta. I was walking down main campus, and I just loved how all the buildings kind of looked like they went together, and then the brick walkway. It was a beautiful campus, and the weather was so nice and warm. And then I learned that they had a mass media program, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I like movies, because at the time I had no idea what I really wanted to do. So I was like, I like watching movies. And so I started the mass media program. Freshman year was a little difficult. I got a couple weed out classes, but once I survived those, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. I didn't know what it looked like at the time, but I knew that I wanted to do something with media and with filming and editing and all that stuff. So the mass media program was a great way to introduce me to just about every area of media. It taught me, some script writing. It taught me how to interview people. It taught me how to give an interview. It taught me how to edit and film and all that stuff. So it kind of gave me, the foundation for all of that so that I can then go and do whatever I wanted to do with this degree. But I think one of the most noteworthy things that it taught me was back with those weed out classes. There were two of them specifically that were just, they really pushed us. And it was early on they pushed us to, with our time management, with our skills. We were freshmen. We didn't know what we were doing. But this, burden of expectation really pushed us to learn. So in the field that I'm in now, it taught me when there's a problem, okay, we can't just avoid this problem, so how do we go through it? How do we make a solution when the original plan doesn't work anymore? I want to start by, giving a little background of what it was like when I went to college. So my freshman year was in 2019. So I started all these classes and I was on campus and in the dorms and, ready to go. And then 2020 hit and we were all sent home, right? So then we're at home for a year and a half learning how to film and edit. And so it was a really weird experience for people in the media department. And then we came back on campus, to wrap up senior year and all that stuff. But it kind of helped us media students in a weird way because one, the technology was greatly advancing during that time. Suddenly churches who had never had a live stream now had to have a live stream, and Facebook suddenly had to, get all this stuff together, and just how everything moved to the digital medium really helped, advance the technology of media. And so us as mass media students kind of had to dive into this world when it was just starting. So that was really interesting time. Mm-hmm. And so your question was, I think when I was a freshman, I really wanted to do all this internships, and I was like, okay, I'm going to follow this set path, and I'm going to do all this stuff and all that. And then when COVID hit, they're like, no, just go home. It's fine. And even if you wanted to do an internship, there were none. Nobody wanted to talk to you. So I can't remember if it was really pushed on us or not, because a lot of the opportunity was taken away from us anyway. But during COVID, I went back to my home. I had to move back home, and I went to my church there. And I just happened to know the media director. He was the youth pastor when I was in youth, and then he was now the media director. And I was like, hey, dude, I've done a whole single semester in mass media. Can I, basically just shadow you and follow you around and, learn whatever. So I remember I had to wait 2 weeks because he's like, actually, we're on lockdown for 2 whole weeks, but you could come after that. So after that 2 weeks of strict lockdown, I just started shadowing him. I followed him around. He was the only person, at the church at the time because, nobody else wanted to come to church. And so I just, I got to follow him and watch him fix lights and edit sermons and record stuff. And so I had that internship with my home church during COVID. And then after COVID, I volunteered at my church. So not really internship, outside project experience. It took a little bit once I got into mass media. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was fascinated with the idea of movies, and I loved story structure because originally I wanted to be an author. But then I realized that writing takes a lot of effort. So I gave up on that, and I was like, you know what if I just filmed the story instead? And then I realized how much effort goes into Hollywood and all the filming they do in Atlanta and how stressful it is and the crazy hours that you have to work. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'm built for the stressful life. And I was like, you know what I do love? Jesus. And so I was like, what if I just did production at a church? You're still doing all the stuff that you would, but on a much, much smaller scale. And, you're working with the same crew. You're not, doing a project here for a couple months and then moving over here to do this project with this crew. So it's very familiar. And it's in an environment that I'm already familiar with. And so it just kind of, after about a year, I was like, you know what? I want to do church production. That's specifically what I want to do. As someone who's just starting out in this career, working with the same crew every Sunday really helps me master and perfect what I'm doing. So for example, I am learning how to do sound. I don't know why, but I didn't take any sound classes when I was in college. And so now I'm in this field where, everyone's looking to me for questions and answers about sound. And I'm like, okay, so I'm having to learn that now. So using the same crew, I can, save presets and kind of tweak it. And so, for example, if we have a singer up here on a Sunday, I know what their voice should sound like. So if I start from scratch, I can EQ their voice to get it to sound how it should or how it could. Since I'm familiar with the voice, I know, somebody, boosted the high frequencies on her. She is not supposed to sound like that. Or, we need to cut this specific frequency. And so that's really helping me train my ears of having the same crew with sound. And then even with cameras, there's one guy who, it's like, okay, if he's not leading a song, he's going to be, moving around. So I could tell my camera operators, be like, follow this guy. He's not leading, so you need to be prepared to follow him because he wanders. And so just stuff like that. When you learn your crew, you learn their habits, and that makes, it brings familiarity, and so it brings connection with the people you're working with behind stage and on stage at the same time. I graduated in May of 2022, and then it took until September to get hired. Now, for this time, I went home for a couple weeks, and then I came back in the summer, and I started interning. At a church this size, typically, before you get hired, you're supposed to do an internship for a while to, kind of learn the lay of the land and, see if you're a good fit and all that stuff. But, conveniently, the current creative arts director kind of stepped away a little bit. And so they were a little short-staffed in this area. And I was like, hey, I've been volunteering here, for this many years. And I'm like, hey, now I'm interning here over the summer. Wouldn't it be great? And so I just kind of stepped into that position. I did a really quick internship, and then I kind of stepped into this position. So six months. But I only found a job this quickly because I already knew everybody who was here, and they knew me. I am the production manager of Crosspoint Church in Valdosta. So I guess, what does that look like? I manage just about every aspect of the production side of things. So I get the worship set, and I'm like, okay, what do we need to make this look good, I guess? So I'm more on the visual side of things on a day-to-day basis, with just a little bit of sound. So I make sure we have enough camera people. I make sure we have enough light people, enough sound people are scheduled to do the mixing. So scheduling volunteers, making sure the lights look good on a Sunday, because we have moving lights, they don't just stay static. So I make sure that that's all prepared beforehand so that the light operator just comes here and has to do their job, and they don't have to worry about, creating the look on the spot. I make sure all the lyrics are ready, good to go. I feel like that one's pretty easy though. What else do I do? If things break, I figure out either how to fix them or who to call to fix them. What else do I do? Oh, and as production manager, one of the things that I get to do, my favorite part of the job, I almost forgot, is that I get to run the shows. So if that's a Sunday morning, that means I'm upstairs being technical director and director at the same time. We don't have a huge setup, so it's really easy to do both of those. If it's a student event, that means I'm in the sound booth, running slides, doing lights, doing whatever that looks like, and other services that we have. I'm the go-to person to be like, hey, you can make sure this happens, right? So working at a church, my schedule is Sunday to Thursday. We have Fridays off. Fridays are kind of our Saturday because a Sunday morning is basically a full-time show. As production, we have to get here at 6 a.m, and then we stay until it's done, so like till 1 o'clock, and we're going the entire time. We're making sure the equipment's working. As a manager, I'm making sure that my volunteers are taken care of and have everything they need. As a team, we're making sure that the worship leaders and all the musicians have what they need. And then, of course, since we work at a church, we need to make sure that the congregation is getting what they need to get as well. So when I say getting what they need, I mean, I'll come back to that later. What was the question? Oh, yeah. So that's what my Sunday looks like. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is I start off making sure, just all the behind-the-scenes stuff is taken care of. So if a camera needs to be looked at or if lights need to be done or lyrics need to be put in, I do all that. And then we have services just about every day of the week. So Monday, I do the Celebrate Recovery service. Tuesday, I do the Point, which is our college group. Wednesday, I do the middle school and high school. And then Thursday, we have rehearsals. So we have services every day that I'm here, which is great. I love it. This is what I love to do. It's much easier now than it was when I started, just because my foundation is better. When I started, so the person who was doing all this stuff was going to leave. I had 1 week of overlap with him. So I had to learn the soundboard and the light board in a week. And I had never done lights or sound ever. There was a lot of, I have no idea what I'm doing. It's a balance of being professional and being honest. Because, as starting out in this career, you want people to have confidence in you. So you need to be professional. If they ask, hey, can you do this? You'd be like, yeah, just, if it's something that you don't know how to do, say yes, but make sure, build in time. Be like, yes, just give me a couple days heads up, so that if I need to look into how to do it, I can look into how to do it. Again, being new, if people ask you something and if you absolutely know you can't do it, be honest. Be like, yeah, no, we're going to have to call on somebody to do that. But if it's something that you think you can do, just buy yourself some time so that you can Google how to do it, and don't tell them that, oh, yeah, I just looked it up, because they don't know. Even if they did look it up, people who aren't in this field won't know what half the terminology means. So that, it's much more than you looked it up. You looked it up and you made it happen, So that's the way you phrase things, you want to be professional. Be like, yeah, just give me a little bit. Don't be like, oh, I went and looked it up and then I just made it happen. That's not professional. But then there's also the hint of honesty of like, so I have messed up several times during service. There was one horrific time that still keeps me up at night where I messed up the entire service. And I don't like to talk about it, but you have to own up to it. Be like, yes, I didn't know. I thought I knew what I was doing and I didn't. And I messed up the whole service. We had no cameras. We had no visuals the entire service. It was very embarrassing. And so at those times, you just have to be honest with your team and with me, the pastor who was preaching that Sunday. Be like, dude, I am so sorry. I thought I knew what I was doing and I didn't. But I do now. That's the other thing. Always come with the professionalism. Come with answers if you can. Be like, I know what was wrong, and it's never going to happen again. So just balance of professionalism and honesty, because you want to be real and authentic. That's how people trust you in the first place. But you also need to be professional too, so they have a reason to have confidence in you.